Hello everyone, welcome to another awesome day of FileMaker training. I'm here at fmtrain.tv. I'm Richard Carlton. So today we're having another exciting day of training, and I want to welcome all of you because we are here to educate and to inspire and to be inspired by you. Frequently, things happen because of your input, your feedback. So as we are here on the live stream, glad when you make it. There's lots of great content coming, even better content. I want to spend a couple minutes talking about that. A lot of what we do is because of the feedback we get from you. It's awesome. I really appreciate it. And even in flight, like we're talking and someone says something, oh, it'd be really great to do something. I don't have the buzzy thing. Nick is still trying to kind of bolt his life back together a little bit. We love Nick. He will be here tomorrow. I will probably be here briefly tomorrow. But the short version is that he'll be here doing 4 days. Scott Kane is guilty of the next piece of what I'm about to have to announce here. It's a very large, actually, it's pretty neat. So here's the problem that we have a lot of times. You folks have suggestions, and it means I have to do a bunch of work. It's like more volunteer work for the live stream. That's why we always ask you to make sure that you purchase the training bundles here, right? So if you purchase the training bundle, it helps us make up for all the stuff that we have to do to bring the live streams to you. It's part of the overall funding budget for the live stream. So what happened today? I spent an hour with live code on the phone, with them on the phone, on the telly, on the phone, whatever. So I think it was a GoToMeeting, but we were discussing their upcoming product and upcoming videos. So we have coming up, and this is where David comes in. David's working on this a little bit. So we are going to be spending time. Basically, it's 2 weeks. It's end-to-end building an Android app, but we're also going to cover how this affects. You could build the runtime on Go. You can build the runtime on Mac. They're working on a Windows one, and they're working on another product that's even more amazing than all that stuff. I thought Android would be enough to be amazing. Really amazing stuff that they got a lot going on. It's the benefit of the beefy FileMaker ecosystem. So everyone, save the date. This will be a Monday through Friday, then Monday through Friday. So that is coming up in a couple weeks. If I hit the live bundle button right here, the upcoming broadcast starting tomorrow is 4 days of Nick Valueless Tell. If you didn't watch yesterday, we have a recording that'll come out shortly. It's kind of the basics of that. And we let Kyle come in for a little bit. That was a mistake. Kyle promptly decided to talk about JSON, warp theory, time dilation, faster than light travel, and execute SQL. So the first 45 minutes of that is basic, and then there's Kyle. And that's kind of the precursor to what you need for this event coming up here. So very exciting, very, very exciting. So moving on to today, Calvin Moseyman, are you there? And all right, where's your face? I don't see your face.
Yes, I'm here.
Where are you? And David, you can jet. I just wanted you to kind of feel that coming for you, okay? Right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'll keep an eye out for the audio.
Right, good, cool. All right, see ya. So this is Calvin. Calvin's an awesome guy. He goes, boss, I got this video of how to keep people from using their mouse on their computer. And I said, well, developers already know how to do that. And he goes, no, I'm talking about the end users in FileMaker. And I said, well, isn't it just like the tab key? Duh, right? And he goes, oh, it's much more sophisticated than that. So he did some really neat stuff. So we're here today to see what Calvin is going to show us how to do, keeping our greasy fingers off our mouse. So our greasy fingers are only on the keyboard, right? So is the idea. So Calvin, talk to me, baby.
Yeah, so it is using the tab order, but it's using the tab order in a way that's really usable for clients. A lot of times we just put fields on a layout and we don't really think about the tab order, and it's not front and center in the workflow. And a lot of times because of that, when you use the tab order, it makes you're going right to left instead of staying in the columns going up and down. And users can get frustrated and they end up just using their mouse more and more. So I had a client where they have one of their secretaries uses the keyboard and all the shortcuts, and anytime she has to touch the mouse, it's money lost and time lost. And so she wanted things to be as much as possible where she wouldn't have to remove her fingers from the keyboard. And so, in their user interface, they're using Nick's new user interface with accordions, and really that's kind of really mostly we've been using that with a mouse to click on. And so I went through, and it's a little bit meticulous, but you have to set the tab order right. And using a combination of tab order and buttons and some keyboard shortcuts, I've updated their app to have a easier time keeping your fingers on the keyboard and for navigation and not using the mouse. So if I can share my screen, I'll give you a look. Now this file that I'm about to show you.
Okay, hang on. So Peter Gaines already has a question here, so I'm assuming that we're going to get to it. It's actually, amazingly enough, from Peter. Thank you, Peter, for being on topic. He asked, actually I had a question about this today. My user can tab to a drop down, but then struggles to open it without using the mouse, right? So, yeah, so kind of part of the conversation today. So, okay.
Yeah, there is a. I'm trying to remember what the shortcut is for that. It's escaping me at the moment.
Well, someone will chime in on that. Space. David Angel says space.
Space. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. There you go, David Angel. Okay. I'm sorry. I've been going through all the Harry Potter movies again just because I was bored, right? And I was like, oh, okay, that's plus 10 points for Gryffindor. I mean, plus 10 for David Angel. Okay, so keep going, David or Calvin.
Okay, so here's the interface, and this is actually, I just took a copy of Nick Hunter's new UI UX interface and updated the tab order and made some adjustments to some of the styling so that it is visible. And one of the styles, so I guess there's two things that I mentioned before, using tab order, buttons, but another important part is using the in focus style to indicate where the user is. So when the user navigates to the detail layout, it goes immediately to the search field, and that's the start of our tab order. And I can type in Richard and find the record that I want. And now the first tab takes me to the field, the first field. Second tab to the next field, and I can do a space bar, as David said, to select a type. And we can change the type and then tab again. Now, did
you hit enter or return there to select it? Either one, probably. I would guess.
That's a good. So I'm on a laptop keyboard, but I could test that on both.
That's fine. Don't worry about it. So you hit return key on because the laptop may not have an enter key, right? Is that what we're saying? So.
The laptop has a return key. It does not have the enter key.
Okay. There we
go. So here, I can spacebar to open it and spacebar to select as well. Let me see. I can do also a return to select.
Yep.
And now when I tab, I'm into this button bar, and you'll notice that it's active by being a little darker. And I can arrow back and forth, and the arrow is what's navigating here. Now this is where the part where I really like what we're doing. If I tab again, you'll notice that this block, the whole card area, the whole communication area is highlighted. Now if I hit spacebar or return, it opens up that navigation and brings me into this area where I can edit these fields and just tab through them. When I'm at the last field, it goes back to the whole card, and I can do a return to close it. Or I can just tab to the next area and open the billing. So it's a really slick way that a user can go through here. So tab to go down, shift tab to go back up, and to access all of these items. If I select when I tab into these action buttons, I can also do a return or space bar to run these. So there, I just opened up FaceTime to make a call. Or I can start, or I can open their website and look at what's going on there, and navigate through all of these items.
Wow.
So, but what's unique about this is that instead of the way Nick Hunter had it set up, he's navigating to a panel and specifying the panel that he's going to. In this case, I'm navigating to a button. And that allows me to use that in focus to highlight and display where I am in the layout.
you're going to walk us through this, right? Because you're hitting this at about 5,000 miles an hour. Now, a lot of people are loving this. I'm getting a lot of positive comments here. This is good. Tawa and Michelle Gravel, you guys have questions on YouTube. Nathan, you have questions, let us know. Brotherman.
Yep.
But yeah, I think, Calvin, you're going to walk us through this technically behind the scenes to help us here, yes?
For sure, yes.
Okay, cool. All right.
So once I'm at the bottom of this column and I tab again, you'll notice, I'm not sure if you can see this in the screen share very well, but this area is now highlighted blue along the edge to say that it's in focus. And I can arrow back and forth and select any of these tabs. And when I select one, you'll notice that it also keeps it highlighted. Now I can tab again, and you'll see now my action button is highlighted. I can add a new contact. I tab again, and now I'm in the portal, and I'm tabbing through, and I can select any one of these that I want to. Shift tab to go back up. And I'll go back up here and navigate to my files. Again, I'm tabbing to the tab navigates to the add file. And now I'm down here in the what is this called? This portal. I can select one of these and then tab into the fields and make any changes that I want. And at this point, I'm at the end of my tab order, and it goes up to my universal search. And that's the end of that tab order, how we're navigating through each of these items in the layout to make sure we're not skipping any fields, make sure we're going over everything and being able to access all of these items without having to touch the keyboard. Do we have any questions before we start digging in to how this works?
Margaret, I just stepped up, but Stu has a question here. Did you answer this one? Does selecting something change the tab order or jump to a different place in the same tab order?
Yeah, so if I select this button, I'm suddenly in the billing area. So the tab order is over here now. But if I select over here, now my tab order is changed. And that's a really good question, because the default behavior, if you don't specify where, I have to specify in the script where I want to be in selecting these tabs. Normally, the way it would normally work is that the tab order would start over. So if we take the old copy of this and you select one of these sub-tabs, these slide panels, it won't keep this button in focus. Suddenly you're going to jump back to the search because that's number 1 in my tab order. And so that's as you're navigating through there, you do need to keep in mind that something needs to be in focus all the time for this to work, or else you'll jump back to the beginning. And also, selecting anything will reset the tab order to that place. Good question. Anything else before we open up layout mode?
That's it for now. Just go. Okay. I think people are trying to figure out how you did this, so yeah, we need to go into layout mode.
Okay, so let's go ahead into layout mode. And here, one of a really helpful thing is our object tree, making sure we have everything here. Let's go over to the layout set tab order, and we'll look at this. And this is a little tedious setting it up, but when it's set up right, it makes people's lives a lot easier, and it really ends up being awesome. So you'll notice number 1 is my search field, and I actually have an on layout enter trigger that will navigate me to that search field. So as soon as I open it up, it's active. If I go, I'm going to go ahead and close this and open my navigation demo. Immediately the search is active, and I can find Richard's record. So back into layout mode and set tab order. So and here it's just real simple, selecting these tab orders. 1, 2, 3, and then 4 is a button bar. Now the button bar works a little differently. You can't have the button bar as a whole is one object in the tab order. You can't set the tab order to each sub button. So the way you would navigate through there is with your arrow keys. So let's go back to browse mode, and I will make this field active so we can tab into here. So I tabbed into the button bar, and if I tab again, I go down to communication, but I can arrow back and forth to make active or disregard active, or the selected value.
To select when you're hitting space or return, or either one. What are you doing there?
Either one. So space or that was a space, that was a return. I wish there was some way you could see what my keyboard actions were at the moment.
Don't we have that? Isn't that on the Mac? Help out here, Discord people. If you're on a Mac, can't you do that with see what the keyboards are popping up or whatever? Oh, there we go. Thank you. So Stu was right. He just gave us, incomplete instructions. All right. So
okay.
We like it. Good job, Stu. We got it. All right. So here we go. So what are we doing now? So hang on. I got to move your. There we go. All right.
Yeah, I'm just seeing how this keyboard shortcut thing works real quick. Okay. So you'll notice the tab is what I'm using a lot.
Yeah, it's hard to see right there, but it is kind of blinking a little bit.
Yeah. So I tabbed into this bar, and you might see that there's an arrow. The arrow's on the lower right that I'm using to select here. I can tab again to open up the next one. Now let's go into layout mode and look at this. And so we've tabbed from a field to a pop-up menu, which we can open with a space bar, to a button bar, and now this is just a regular button. And I have this button named button open accordion 2. And this button is just calling, it's the same script Nick Hunter used, but instead of telling it to navigate to accordion 2, the slide, I'm telling it to navigate to button close accordion 2. Now let's look at what that is. I click there and it navigated to that close button. And you'll notice that here I have this button. It's called button close accordion 2. And when you click that, it goes back to the button open accordion 2. And now you'll notice that there's two buttons though. One is at the top of the tab order and one is at the bottom of the tab order. So the first one is the one that we navigate to, and the last one is at the we tab from this one to the phone field, to the phone to field, to fax, email, website, and then the last item in that the tab order for that slide panel is the end. I put end in there to indicate that this one is at the end of the tab order for that panel. So let's see how that works. So here now I just went into browse mode, so nothing's active. I'll tab. Now it's at the first of my tab order. Tab again. It's going through here. Now I have this button active. A space or return opens it up, and I have that first button in my tab order selected. Tab again to go down. Shift tab again to go up. I'm at the last field in that area. Now one more tab, and it looks like it's the first button that I selected so that I could close it, but it's actually a secondary button, so I can have two buttons. The one's really just for the tab order. The other one is to to open the tab or to display.
Yeah. So Stu says, so conceptually, I'm going to read what Stu says, and then you can reply back. So he says, so conceptually, it's one long tab order with buttons to cause you to jump to different points in the tab order. Exactly.
Yes. The so those buttons are the reason why we have to have those buttons though is because we're using a accordion style.
Can you?
Yeah.
Can you do me a favor? Press that button right there because it's really hard to see when you're hitting the keyboard. Here we go. Okay, change this. Opacity, toolbars. Can you change the, not the zoom, because we can't hardly see it when you're.
Yeah, maybe is that better?
Oh, that's way better. Okay, thank you. Way better. Okay, good. Sorry, because we can't hardly see the damn keyboard. Okay, so there we go. So yeah, he sees tab, and this is much better like this.
Yeah.
Okay, so walk through that one more time. So there's two buttons on it, right? So there's the
So I'm tabbing into here.
That's button
and
one.
Space or return. Yeah, that was button was on the main one. Now this is button 1.
Okay.
I tab into that first field and tab all the way to the end. And now here, I tab again and it goes to the second button. They do the same thing, but I have them on there, have 2 buttons so that one can be at the top of the tab order for these fields and one's at the bottom. Now, if I do Shift Tab to go backward, because I had the last one, the second button selected, I started at the bottom. But if I close this and open it again, it starts me at the top. So I'm back to the top button again. But having those 2 buttons there, at first I was thinking I would use some kind of script trigger that figured out, well, if I tab out of the last field and have this parameter set saying that it's the last field, then it'll tell me to go back to the button. It ended up being a much more elegant solution to just have the same button there, or 2 buttons that do the same thing but exist in 2 different places on the tab order. Now I can continue tabbing and go to the next panel, billing, and open that. I don't necessarily have to even close one of these. And the tabs also bring me to these action buttons so I can select them. Now in the clients that I was working with, they have a lot more action buttons. So we are skipping their action buttons, and if they want to do an action, they'll use their keyboard or their mouse. And the keyboard, the tabbing was more for data entry to make that a lot faster. Another thing here, now we'll see in billing, if I tab, I have a button in that tab order. So now I can select same as space to say same as billing, and that set those fields to match.
Okay, back up. So can you, so David Angel goes, is an invisible button question mark. So these buttons that we're talking about on the front and back, can you actually take a moment and build one of these things for us? Like build another one, or?
So here I'm going to call this new one, we'll just call it tab 4.
Yeah, and do me a favor. Build it like the one where you had the that one with the fields in it or whatever, like the down, and then
Yeah. This one. Okay, yeah. So here we go. Actually let's go ahead and so I haven't touched this one yet. This layout I haven't touched at all.
Yeah. And don't do the whole thing. Just worry about getting us kind of from here and then through it and then down to the next one, right? Walk us through this, because I mean, listen, everyone else here is following you, but I'm actually looking at 4 screens at once, and I'm lost. I'm not clear on what you're doing.
Okay.
I know that there's buttons on the end, but I'm not quite sure. Yeah.
So this button doesn't have a name given to the layout object. So I'm going to call this button accordion.
So this is a button that pre-existed that Nick had, correct? Is that what we're saying here? So if you didn't have a button, you have to create a button, right? Is number 1. Okay. So yes.
Right.
Okay.
So I'm going to call this open accordion 2, because that's where we want to go. And this is accordion 2. And now this button, I'm going to call this one button close accordion 2.
Okay.
I'll copy that. And one of the neat things about this is that I'm actually using Nick. I'm just changing the parameter in Nick Hunter's item. Now, here it might be a little confusing because we're saying button close accordion 2. We're telling it where to go. We're not telling it what to do. So we're not saying close it because we want it open. So this one actually needs to be, open accordion 2. And this one here.
Okay, so slow down a second. So that's fine. Go ahead and finish this. But then I'm having like a senior citizen moment here, right? So So Carl, keep going. You finish it up. What you doing? All right, let's stop.
Okay, I'll go and browse.
Is this accordion 1? Is this number 1? Is that 1?
Yeah. So what we're looking at right now is number 1. Communications number 2, primary number 3,
and we're trying to animate or build out the functionality kind of from here through here, right? So really number 2 is the main one. Okay.
Yeah, we're focusing on number 2 right here.
So go back to the layout mode and show us the objects again on the side. So on accordion 1, we went to accordion 1 and we said, this is what we want it to do, right? When they hit this button, it's going to open accordion 2, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
And it's a button that you put over that could be a box, a transparent box you put over it, or whatever you do, right? It's a button. It's an object that we're going to attach a script to, which you've already done. Okay. So then
it navigates to the button close accordion 2.
Okay, so back up. So this button here, can you go show me the script on that button again? Slow down, because it was just, you're whizzing around really fast, and I'm just not very bright. So what is the script? What does that script do? Show me the script.
So this is one of Nick Hunter's scripts. Okay. So it's just a go to object script.
That's all it does is go to object. So it does a refresh and it does whatever, but it's going to go to the object that we passed it in the parameter. So we passed it. So this one here, we said, what is the name of the button down here on this other one? Does it have a name for the button or the?
Yeah. So this one's the open one, and this one's the close one.
And so this one here, so we have to pass the parameter of the name of this one here. Put the parameter in there, correct? Yes.
Right. Right. Okay, so that's what's going on.
Okay. And then
so now, if I select this now, you'll notice I can hit spacebar. Let me bring this up so you can see it. I clicked on this, and I'm hitting spacebar to open and close, or return to open and close. And that's pretty cool, except that I have no idea that that's selected. And so what's key is having the this area, this in focus set. So I'm going to change the in focus, and I'm going to give it a line and make it blue. And the reason I picked these colors was so it matches the in focus for the fields. Usually we always set up the in focus for fields, but we don't, or at least I don't, normally focus on what the in focus is for buttons. Usually I even ignore them in the past. I've ignored them in the tab order. So now you'll see I selected this. And this one you can tell it's highlighted. This one you can't because this one has that in focus. And this is a place where you will really notice using styles and themes is going to come in really handy to get all of these little things right. So in the case of the other one, I gave this a style and set it up so I wouldn't have to set what the in focus is. I just had to point it to that one type. So here you'll notice now I opened it, I close it, and it's showing that that's active. Now if I tab into here, you'll see we jumped back to the top because it's not in the tab order. So let's go back into, this first area. And now that the button's working to open and close it, let's put that in the tab order so that it starts working. So layout, set tab order, and I'm going to make my find field the first one. We'll do that. We'll make the name second, department third. We'll make this button bar 3, and I want this button to be number 4. And we can say 5, 6, 7. Okay. So let's try that again. Now, I should be, because I just went into browse mode, I should be at the top of my tab order. So I went from search to the name to type. Now type, you'll notice, maybe it's skipping type for some reason. But we'll tab through till I get to communication. Now it's highlighted, we can see we're there. I can do a return, and let's try tabbing again, went back to search. So here, what we would end up doing is finding out what the last tab order in this column is. I'm going to look at my tab number and say number 7. So I'll pick up the next tab 2 with number 8. So let's go close that, go to the accordion, and I'm going to give this button tab number 8. Set tab order.
Scott says the type is in the wrong order. Type is in the wrong order, or whatever. I'm not sure.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
Good. Let's make that 3.
Okay.
There we go. So we're going to make that button number 9. So we got 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Let's see how that works. So we're at search, name, type, there we go. Give them an agency. And then now you'll notice here, we're not seeing anything with the button, although I can make changes. Let me bring this up so you can see what I'm doing. I'm doing the arrow back and forth, but because I'm not using the in focus on this button bar, it doesn't have the same style as the button bar on the other layout, then we can't see what's going on. Here, we're using the in focus so we can see what's going on. I'm going to open this with a space and tab. Now I'm going into those fields. And I can go through each one of these, and then now we need that second button. So we need a button. We had one button at the top of our sort order in this panel, and we need one at the bottom. So let's go ahead, and what I've been doing is just duplicating this. So I'll say copy, paste, and put it over there. And let's put it, see if we can get this. There we go. Now it's in accordion 2. I want it behind everything else, or we can put it next to the accordion button and the other one. So I will give this the name and put end at the end so that I know that this is the start of my tab order and this is the end of my tab order. Let's go ahead and select this button. Now it will have the same style, so it will show it's in focus. And what I ended up doing in the other one, you'll see it when you download it, is that I'm using a style for it called accordion button open, and it's slightly different than I'm not giving it a solid background so that it doesn't, so that you can see both of them, and I have a panel in the background to give it that style. So let's go ahead and I'll leave this here. And let me put that style so it looks like it's on a little card, because the card's pretty cool. Let's do that. I'm going to give it called a slide control. And then put that over the top of everything and make it the same size. I'm going to say arrange send to back. I'll select all of these objects. Both my buttons, and just give it an arrow up, arrow down. Now we're in this new panel, and so that panel gives me that card look. And now we need to make sure that these two buttons here that are behind everything are in the right order. So I know, because I just added this one, this end button's not going to be right, so I'm going to make it real small so that those arrows in the tab order aren't on top of each other. Set tab order. Now we've got number 16 here. I want this one to be number 17. So we'll say 17, say OK, and make those the same size. Let's go to browse mode. OK, again, we start with search. We go to the name, type. Again, this is the status. Now communication is highlighted. I'll do spacebar to open this. And tab in. I tab through these fields, and I'm on the last field, so the next tab will be to that end button, which I can spacebar to close and open it back up. So what's really key to this is navigating to the buttons, but then having the buttons an in focus option so we can see what's active and see where the user is in that tab order.
Wow, my head's blown. You know what's funny about this, and I'll bring this up as kind of an interesting, more kind of a strategic thought process, is what we build our applications for, right? Mm-hmm. And so Calvin, I'm going to kind of talk about you like behind your back, but you're not really behind your back. So, where's my mic? Oh, there it is. Okay, good, great. So, a lot of times we build applications in the world of FileMaker for a variety of different reasons, and sometimes you build stuff just quick and dirty. You've seen some of the little things I use for some of my aviation stuff. It's not really designed to be super beautiful. But you could take a basic FileMaker application where you just throw the stuff on there and you get it working. And so then you put accordions in, which is this kind of, I would call it a hack, because it's not really an object that, like an accordion object that's up here. I think someday in FileMaker, probably not 20, but 21 or 22, they'd put that in there. They'd be in there. You could do that by default. But that's years down the road. And so there's this beautification thing that goes on, and Nick is the purveyor of beautification, and Calvin feeds on it, and these two go back and forth, kind of pushing each other to go better and farther and faster. It's really interesting. So Nick will do something, then Calvin will do something, and then Christian. Really, these three kind of bounce off each other, and they're always upping the game of the other person and pushing them to go better, farther, faster. And so this is a high degree of polish. So Scott Kane is a person that is trying or is building or whatever vertical market application. So if you're building a vertical market application, you're trying to get people to buy the application. Then clearly this level of beautification is important, but it's, as everyone said here, 3 or 4 or 5 people go, it's tedious, it's tedious. Well, this is even more tedious, but the final results with this neomorphism, right? The neomorphism is beautiful, one, and we are working on that, but frankly, the budget, our R&D budget, took a hit because things slowed down this summer. So we're trying to get that done, but the neomorphism is a great design style. And then Calvin extending it even further with this tab control stuff. But that's something like in Starting Point. Remember, people take Starting Point, like you got a person the other day came to me and goes, I wanted you to have bill bombs, bill of materials and kits and things in Starting Point. It should be in there for free. And it should be done, right? And basically we had to tell them it's FM Starting Point, not FM completely done. One of the things that you have to think about on this, I think, is kind of important, is that I always save tab orders kind of towards the end, because you don't want to do a beautiful job at tab ordering, especially with Calvin. But people save the tabs for the end. That's kind of the inherent thing. And then it's kind of like when you say, oh yeah, I'm gonna comment those scripts, right? There's this thing that kind of hangs off. So there's always a reason you don't get to commenting your scripts. There's always a reason you don't get to tab orders. This is extreme tab orders, right? And I'm impressed, but it's a difference between, kind of an in-house app that you build just for you and 5 of your team versus something that has to have a very high degree of polish on it. And I want to compliment Calvin. This is amazing, right? I'm not allowed to say fucking amazing. It's fucking amazing. It's amazing, right? I'm impressed. I'm truly impressed. I really am. Calvin's done a fantastic job with this. Bretterman says it looks good. Stu says well done. But it's just kind of crazy that of what you've done here. I'm impressed. So apparently Labo and some of the others already knew about this, right? Labo's acting like, oh yeah, I did this all the time, right? I'm like, my little head went. So.
Yeah, one of the things though that I feel like I'd like the tab order to be something that FileMaker or Claris addresses. But one thing that you want to keep in mind as you're working on this is if you copy and paste from one layout to another, the tab order resets. So if you copy everything, if you have a test layout and a master layout and you decide to copy everything over, that tab order is reset. And that can be really frustrating.
Okay, back up.
Which makes it fragile.
Back up. So you're saying if you go to manage layouts and you duplicate the layout, or are you saying if you copy the elements on here and then
if you copy the elements, the tab order is not copied.
So you'd want to.
And that's actually, it used to be, but it's not anymore.
Well, that could be on purpose, or just because they forgot and didn't care. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem. So for those of you wondering, I know about Labo says, I know that above all, I know that is a big job to set up. Yes. Well, it is, but then look at the polish on this. So if this was Scott Kane's solution or someone else's solution and it's behaving like this, people are going to have a high degree. Oh, go back on that. Go do that again. What was that? You had pixel shift. See the pixel shift there? Do that again. Go back and forth on that. See the pixel shift on that? Yeah, so you don't want to have that. But notwithstanding that little issue, this is a sample file. But if you get rid of pixel shift and you have good tabs and good interface, people don't care it's FileMaker. They just care that you've built a great app that'll help them in their business go better, farther, faster, right? Scott, yours is that roofing one, right? Yours is the roofing one? Yeah, so I think Scott is the roofing.
Yeah, and part of this is also the whole idea of user acceptance too. The person that wanted the tab order is somebody who's going to be working in this all day long and wants to be able to navigate everywhere really fast and not touch the mouse and tab everywhere and enter the data as fast as they can and find what they need as fast as they can. So they're like an extreme power user who wants to everything to be streamlined.
Yeah, well, I mean, and you got a demanding customer, right? But that's fine. I mean, it's their money. They get to demand what they want. I'm just, for me, I don't normally put, I mean, like, all right, so let's just be clear about this. So if I have a, oh, that's not your screen. Sorry, I'm trying to control your FileMaker. Right? Hang on one second here. Please, where'd my FileMaker go? So yeah, so if I go into like a database where I'm doing very basic internal stuff for myself, right? So if I go to my dashboard and I go to the Kronos project, right? Something like this. Ultra ugly and ultra basic, right? And I don't know that I've ever, in all honesty, done tabs on here. So if I press tab, it's just kind of firing all over the place. This is so common as what you do when you're just building something quick and dirty because you want to organize. You know, I have 500 relevant documents regarding to flight training, flight safety, and documentation. And I need a way of storing that. I wasn't worried about that. So, of course, seeing something like this is so beautiful. I have severe envy, right? Severe envy of the beauty and the elegance. It surprises and delights. So those are the two words that Steve Jobs used to use. The application should surprise and delight. I think delight was definitely there. Surprise and delight, I thought that was. So yeah.
Those sound like they go together.
Yeah, they do. And from Jobs' perspective, he would love what you have done here. And I know that he used FileMaker. He built his own solutions. He built stuff. So yeah. So very.
Yeah, another neat thing about this is that it's not using anything it's all really simple features. We're just saying it's just tab order and scripts that say go to object and using a in focus style. And so it's not like there's this huge complicated thing, custom function or huge complicated thing behind it. It's just being really particular and making sure all of those things are set up right to work together.
Ooh, I don't remember seeing this. I like that. I have to make sure that makes it into the new starting point. The file thing right here. That's nice.
Yeah.
I'm impressed. I like that. I don't remember Nick doing that, but that's a lot better than the other one he built. That's pretty nice. All right, cool. Well, we are attempting to kind of land the plane. Do we have questions from folks here on this technique? Is there anything you haven't covered, Calvin?
Well, I guess one other thing here in this particular navigation with the tabs is that in this button, Nick, you have to navigate to the tab and then back to the button object. So when I'm telling it to navigate to, if we look at I'm telling it to navigate to the slide, and then I'm telling it to go back to the button that called it so that our tab order remains in the same point. So here, if I select Spacebar to navigate to the tasks panel, I'll hit Spacebar and navigates to the panel and then navigates back to the button so that that's still in focus.
Can you show script debugger just for a moment? Because you are tripping a script there, right? So
I am, yep. So here's
and you can get rid of the keyboard for now. That's fine. We don't need the keyboard.
So Spacebar, and this is all Nick's thing. So
right.
That was the on keystroke, and now I'm passing it the slide 5, and it goes to slide 5, and you'll notice tasks is not in focus. And then have the second go to object that replaces slide with button. So now it's saying go to button 5. And now tasks is in focus. So that way, sometimes the buttons or how you work with the buttons are going to mess up your tab order and put you back at the beginning. So you just have to keep that in mind in your script.
Is that blue box, is that an object or is that a button, the blue right there, or is that actually
see, this is the blue object is just something I've never really used a lot. That's the in focus style.
So it is. So most of the time, it's
most of the time, the in focus, you'll just have the same as the active.
Ah, yeah.
Or the same as inactive. We don't really, a lot of times I've never used it. But it's critical to use it in this instance because that's the visual feedback to know where you are.
Stu did have a question. Why did you make the end button smaller? I missed that. Is it necessary to make the technique work, or is it just aesthetics?
So it is. So good question. Now, I will show why. If we go, so I'm in layout mode and I have this button, and you'll notice the first button and the second button are the same size, the same location, and one is immediately on top of the other. You'll notice the position doesn't change at all between those. So when I go to layout, set tab order, I've got two arrows on top of each other, one that I want to be 19 and one that I want to be 13. And it's just really difficult to get to. So if I make the lower one of these end shorter and go to the tab order, now I have access to this arrow and this arrow to set the tab order.
So you would set it and then make it bigger again? Is that what you would do?
And then, yeah, so I set the tab order and then I made it bigger again. It's not, I really wish you could set the tab order in like the object tree. I think that would be pretty
They could
awesome.
do that, but once again, that's a coffee cup holder change, and they're working on a new engine on coffee cups. So
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah,
so when you,
by the way, just so you understand that Claris, I had a meeting with Brad yesterday. For those of you paying attention to stuff, and I talked to some of their engineering folks, and they're wrestling with this. I don't know if management has thought this all the way through, but basically they've got this messaging thing about where they're going. But anytime you have a message, there's always this law of unintended consequences. And they're working on this new amazing stuff. That means that they're probably not working so much on other stuff, right? And I think they're kind of finding their way, and it's one of the things that I would help them with if they ask. But trying to explain to people, it's like, hey, because a lot of you have all your little things you would like to see changed. That's like literally, it's like going to Toyota or Acura or Honda or Ford or GM or BMW or someone and saying, hey, I really like this different coffee cup holder option that you have, right? And the problem is with that is that it's they're redesigning the vehicle entirely with a bunch of other stuff. They're not worried about the coffee cup. They'll deal with the coffee cups when they got to get the thing kind of working, right? The car works and shifts gears and drives down the road, and the steering wheel actually is connected to the steering, right, to the front wheels or something. So, and so I had to explain this to them the other day, and they were like, yeah, I could tell like it went a wall and poof, right? So I think they're wrestling with this a little bit, but I think Brad used the term synthesize the messaging on it. Synthesize. I told him it was really good. What he had said is really good. I wrote it down, but figuring out how to synthesize the message, because we're in a state over the next couple of years, a lot of amazing new stuff coming, a lot of new changes, a lot of amazing stuff, like kind of like this Android conversation we have coming up in a couple of weeks. Just neat stuff. So David Angel says, when your search, it's in Discord, when you search stays in search field, doesn't it jump to the next field?
No, actually, when you search, so if I did a search, and this is on purpose, the search ends by navigating back to the search field and performing a find. So that way, if I search for John, and that's not who I wanted this John, and now I can find it. So so that allows you to search in there until you're ready to select one of these records and tab into the record itself. I do have one last thing, and that is this does have my navigation add-on in it. So if you hit Command O, it brings this up, and you can arrow down.
I love that so much.
Navigate to any of these areas.
Yeah.
And go back to where you were. So
see how pretty that is? That is so pretty, right?
So we've got a main navigation that doesn't require a mouse, and navigation throughout each detail layout that doesn't require a mouse. So you could essentially keep your fingers on the keyboard the entire time.
Yeah, I'm impressed. I'm impressed. Yeah, I did my own side navigation in my file, and it was like ultra basic compared to that. Like my navigation. Are you using a card for that over there? Is that a card that pops up over here?
Yeah, that's a card.
Yeah, that's what I did over here. I hit a thing, and then this is my card. Not nearly as pretty as yours is, right? So, but
I copied it from Nick. So
you stole it from Nick. Well, then that explains why it's so beautiful. So yeah, mine's not nearly as pretty as yours is. Yours is stunningly beautiful.
One thing that will really help you in setting these up is using the styles. So you really want to do that. You'll notice that each of these buttons is called, this is action button 2. All of those are assigned to a style. Shipping is assigned to a style, and that just applies all of those in focus and such to that object. Now this one doesn't have a style, so we could call this, I'm going to call this a, actually we do have a toggle. I'm going to call this a new toggle. Save as new style. I'll call this one status toggle. And so now that I have status toggle there, I'll go ahead and save this. Save changes to theme. And if you remember over here in contacts, when we tab over there, we can't really see what's going on. So let's go ahead and change this to our status toggle. And so now we can tab into it and we see what's active. So it's a lot faster using those styles than to use than to manually select them. And so again, here we can say action button 2 and watch how fast that was fixed. So now each of these has that style on there. So keeping the styles will, or using the styles will save you a lot of time setting up these in focus styles on your apps and in the buttons. This is again just adding that in focus to one of the standard buttons, and same here to the what is this called? The portal button to show which portal item is highlighted. And again, in a button bar, the tab will take you to the next item, but the button bar allows you can navigate between them using the arrow keys. As I can show one other thing here. I'm using a modular script for the open in maps. And if you like Apple Maps as opposed to Google Maps, it tells which platform you're on. And then if you are on Mac or iOS, Mac OS or iOS, it opens in the Maps app instead of opening in Google Maps. So you could set that up as a preference even for your users to check which one they prefer.
Okay.
So when I select Open Maps, it's actually opening the Apple Maps app instead of a Google Maps website.
Okay.
But if you're in Windows, it knows and it will take you to Google.
Cool. All right, that's it, folks. We're a little bit late. We'll catch you tomorrow with Nick. Nick will be here. All right? See ya.
Guys just stepped up the whole way. Calm, cool, collected, the quarterback. Great read. good patience. More importantly, great job up front protecting this quarterback to give you a chance. And that's all you can ask for.
Try to rally down 10. 9:25 to go here in the fourth. Short motion by Amendola from the left. Brady takes the shotgun snap. Stands in, throws it left for Amendola. Reaches up and snacks a high throw and lands inside the 10. Rolling to the 9. Ball slightly behind him, but Danny makes the grab.